Iraq. Mr. President, it is a critical matter that at this very moment as we stand here, the RAAF has informed the Australian community it is ready for combat in Iraq. We have the Prime Minister telling the Australian community that he will be taking the matter to Cabinet any minute whenever he chooses to do so. And yet the Australian Parliament has not debated this deployment of Australian troops to a multi-year war in the Middle East. This is the most shocking thing that a government can do, to just go and commit young men and women to war in the Middle East without a plan, without a strategy, without any notion of where this might end up. Mr. President, there will be families across Australia who have their sons, daughters, husbands, brothers, sisters in the armed forces. And they remember Afghanistan, and they remember young people dying in that conflict. And they will be asking themselves, as we stand here today, why are we going to another war in the Middle East? We have to actually think about that. Why are we sending them to another war in the Middle East, and is it in the Australian national interest to do so? In the United Kingdom, we had Prime Minister Cameron recall the House of Commons to debate this matter. In the United States, we had President Obama recall Congress to talk about bombing in Syria, but not in Australia. We have not had the Australian Parliament, therefore the Australian people, being given an opportunity to hear from the government and have it debated, the rationale for what we are doing, committing people to war. Before the Iraqi government asked anything of Australia, we had already stood up and said we would join the United States blindly going into another war in Iraq. It was announced before the al-Abadi government had actually asked us anything. And after we have our planes in the Middle East, after we have our boots on the ground in the United Arab Emirates, then we go to Iraq to sort out the legalities of what we might be doing retrospectively. So retrospectively, we are now determining what we're embarking on and why. And what do we know? Well, in the last few days, President Obama has said that he had underestimated the power of ISIL, that they are continuing to advance in spite of the air raids. We have McCain in the United States saying that he wished the president would stop saying that there would be no boots on the ground. In Syria, we have the already huge suspicion as to the United States' involvement in Syria and whether it is actually supporting President Assad. In fact, there is a suspicion that Washington is coordinating with Damascus, and the main side that will benefit from the bombing in Syria is President Assad. Already we are arming the Free Syrian Army, but there is huge suspicion, and the al-Qaeda forces are now joining with the ISIL forces. All of the extremist forces are coming together because they are now suspicious of what the Americans are doing and what we will be doing, because we haven't actually outlined what Australia is doing. Also, will the consequences stay in Iraq and Syria? Well, no, they won't. We've already seen the fabric of our own society being torn apart with the fear in the Australian community that is being driven, with the increase in the likelihood, Mr. President, of terrorist attacks and the increase in likelihood of recruitment because Australia is going into another war in the Middle East. What we have to know is, in relation to President Assad, will the mission target Assad's forces? And if they do, will that bring in the Russians? What is the intent? The Americans want to replace President Assad. They want to defeat ISIL. They want a new government in Iraq. The question is, how will that be achieved? How will it be contained? And why is it in our national interest? The government must tell the parliament. We must be able to debate these matters We need accountability from the executive, and the parliament can do that. We are the body to do it, and that is why we should be having the debate.